So I just thought I'd do a quick video just to show you how I'm making my compost for the no dig veg garden. So I'm a self-employed gardener. I get quite a lot of grass cutting, so I've been out on a grass cutting job today, and I have got 7 of these 100-litre bags full of grass clippings. Obviously I'll get hedge trimmings, all sorts of things. I shred. I've got my little shredder over there, so I'll shred anything that I think will be okay. I don't put conifer shreddings and clippings in the veg garden at all. As a brown, I do use wood chip. I try not to use conifer. I don't know if it's strictly true, but I've heard that conifer can be quite acidic. Other people say it does just break down, doesn't make a lot of difference. If there's a little bit, I'll mix it in, but I wouldn't just use pure conifer chippings. So it's important with greens that you mix about 50-50 brown. So I'll put all sorts of things into it. Here I've got some pots of old compost, things that didn't quite take, things that died or didn't germinate, whatever. I throw that in as a brown. Them old geese are trying to get in on the videos. Yes, you want to be on telly, don't you? Stupid geese. So I throw old compost in, anything, old pots, knock them out. That's as a brown. I've got this wood chip. This is stuff I've chipped this last winter, so I would really ideally like it to be more watted, but at the moment it's all I've got. So all I do is if I tip a bag of grass clippings on, I'll tip them on, and then I'll put a good few shovelfuls of wood chip. And this just balances it out. If you use purely grass clippings, purely green stuff, then you will end up with a black, sloppy, stodgy mess. So a lot of the weight of grass clippings is just water. There is a lot of water in grass clippings, so I don't necessarily do it a one-to-one volume. To a sack of that, I'd probably put about half a barrow of wood chip, and I'll just sort of flick it up, just give it a bit of a mix. And then obviously this gets turned, so I have 3 bays here. Basically all I do, whatever the time of year, is I just keep filling this bay until it's out to about where I am now, and so high that it's falling off the sides, and then I'll turn it. So the 3rd bay is empty at the moment, so probably in a month's time this will be so full I won't be able to get much more in. So I'll turn the 2nd one into the 3rd, and I'll turn this one into the 2nd and start a new one. And yeah, so I'm trying to think. So that pile was done all through the winter. This 2nd pile here, from late autumn all through the winter. There's probably a bit more browns in there. There were some of the later grass clippings, prunings, hedge trimmings, things like that. And obviously summer piles, there's going to be a lot more grass. So it varies different times of the year as to what you're putting in it. So other things that I use as a brown, I don't necessarily go and buy straw, but I do have straw to bed the ferrets. I sometimes use a bit of straw in the winter for the chickens, but through the summer I use dust extracted wood shavings. But if I've got a bit of straw, I will use the odd wedge and just break that up over the top. And then just cover that with grass. And again, just give it a bit of a mix up. So I also put some twiggy stuff. So a few weeks ago I had some hydrangeas I had to cut down, and I will put those in because they're just like hollow stems. They're not too woody, so that they'll break down and rot away quite nicely. I wouldn't put pure hedge cuttings, just twigs in. I'd always run those through the shredder just to break them up a little bit. The shredder, sometimes certain twigs will come through about this sort of size, and as I'm digging it out, if they're still a bit twiggy, I'll just put them back into the first pile and they can go through the whole system again. So other things I do, I'll go around the holding. Obviously I've got 4 acres here, lots of nettles, lots of comfrey growing, so whenever I get time I'll go around with the barrow, big leather gloves and a little hand scythe, and I'll just get in there and I'll cut some nettles and comfrey down, get a nice pile in the barrow and just chuck that on there as well. And obviously now that the veg patch is basically at the size I want it, I've got all my beds in. This time last year I only had 12 beds, so I've now got 24, 5, 6, about 26 beds. I'm gonna have a lot more stuff purely just off the veg, so all that will go in as well. Anything a bit too stemmy, I try to chop up. I've got a little knife, I've had it for years, just a thin little whippy knife, and I'll just sort of dice up the stems. I've got an old stump there, and I'll just dice up the stems a little bit with that, and you know, that's good for just whipping through brassica stems and stuff. Just so they're diced up a little bit, so they break down a bit quicker. I've got 2 places where I'm collecting leaf mould. I've never really done leaf mould properly before, so I've collected 2 big piles. I'm keeping that separate. I do put leaves in here a bit as well as a brown, because I get a lot of leaves through the autumn, so I do bulk out my own compost with that a bit. But I'm just trying to make some leaf mould compost as a trial when it's ready, just for seed sowing. It's supposed to be a very good compost purely for seed sowing, so that's another little thing I'm going to try. So yeah, I mean you can compost anything. So now that they're charging for green waste bins, obviously I didn't pay for mine, so I can bring all my green waste rubbish down here and compost it. And my dad said to me, can I give him one of the green bags every week? And he hasn't paid for his bin, so he puts all his grass clippings and vegetable peelings and things like that in the bag. Also, so at home I've got a compost bin in the kitchen. I put all my peelings in there. I put all the toilet roll inners in there, any cardboard packaging, Amazon boxes and things like that aren't glossy and haven't got like metal staples, or if there's a bit of sellotape on them, just pull the sellotape off. But any non-glossy cardboard, you can put that in. My mum and dad still get a paper or 2 every day, so I tell them just to scrunch that up and put it in with the grass clippings. So anything like that, just, you know, rather than binning it or putting it in your recycling, put it in your compost. You wouldn't want purely cardboard. You want to mix it a bit, and I always give it a good water as well, get it nice and moist. And so start to finish, this at the moment it's holding about 70 degrees. I've got a compost thermometer in there. It's holding about 70 degrees, so I'm getting a lot of grass cuttings at the moment. I'm getting probably about 8 or 9 of these 100-litre bags every week. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, so I'm mixing a lot of browns for that. Got a nice pile of wood chip that can go with those greens to sort of balance it out. And yeah, so it's holding temperatures. And this pile, this was started, I'm trying to think when I turned it now, so it was early spring I turned it and started this pile. So this will all be in the 3rd bay, sort of end of the summer, sort of August, probably August time. And what I'll do is I'll end up with 2 bays worth in that 3rd bay, because I'm gonna this year definitely I'm gonna have everything full to the brim, and each bay potentially, 1 single fill of the bay makes me about 4 cubic meters of finished product. It does shrink even after the first turn and the second turn. It does shrink down a bit. It's constantly breaking down, but after about 6 months, in the 3rd bay, it's cooled right down. It's not producing any more heat, and I get about 4 cubic meters from a full bay that is literally this high and out to about here. And then the second bay is a bit smaller, and the 3rd bay is the same size as the second, but like I say, I will put 2 bays into that 3rd bay as it breaks down small. So yeah, I'm doing really well this year, collecting everything I can, and I think really by mid, so if I turn that, probably by late summer this year, I should have, you know, enough of my own compost to very rarely need to buy any in. only if I want specialist seeding compost or anything like that. But like I said, I did the trial in one of my other videos, using my own compost sieved as a seed compost, and it did really well, did just as well as the bought stuff. And I actually did a little video, it's only a couple of minutes long, I haven't put it up yet, and some of my brassicas got scorched. I left them in a cloche, and I had opened the ends, but the ends had blown down, so that it was a sealed cloche, and I had a -2, and because it was then sealed during the day, a lovely bright warm day, I was at work all day, got to +46 in there on the digital thermometer, so a swing of 48 degrees, and I lost a few of my brassicas and some kale and stuff like that. But the ones in my compost, and I don't know why it should be any different, they survived the heat and didn't suffer with the scorch as much as the ones in the green waste compost, the bought-in multi-purpose compost. So, you know, a bit of a riddle that. I don't quite know why that happened, but out of all my purple sprouting, I've got 7 plants that survived out of 2 trays, out of 30 plants, and 5 of the 7 were the ones in my compost, and the other 2, which are actually still a bit ropey, were in the multi-purpose brought in. So yeah, a bit strange, but all in all, I'm very pleased with it, because it means that, you know, my own compost works really well as seeding compost for growing on, for topping the beds up, you know, for everything. So, and I grow a few trees and hedging that I sell as well. So if I can produce my own compost and not have to buy compost for that, then that makes me more money too. Saving money is making money, isn't it? It's the same thing. So yeah, this is something I really want to get more into, and try to find other things that I can add, other things I can get for free, just to bulk out my compost and to produce as much as possible. Obviously, as a gardener, I'm doing all the maintenance on the lawns. I'd never use cuttings that I've treated for moss or anything like that. I'd always throw the first couple of cuttings away before I start collecting it again. I don't want any chemicals or anything in my compost, so I only use stuff that I know is pure and clean. So yeah, so this is just the first bit of this video. I'll show you other things over the next week or so as I collect some more compost stuff from around the holding, and if I chip anything, and I'll just add that to this video just to show you the sort of things I'm putting in, and then yeah, through the season I'll show you the finished product as well, hopefully, and there'll be a good load of it hopefully this year. I've got a load of extra stuff for the compost today. I cleared the border at work yesterday. I just dumped it down here after work. I didn't get home till 8 o'clock last night, so I've just come down today. It's a bit of a rainy day today. I'm just going to chuck it on the compost heap. Just going to show you what I've got, a few extra bits and bobs. I was clearing the border that used to be a veg bed. I work for the new owners, and she's putting in a cut flower garden in this border. And so I've got, there was a big false rhubarb, a big old clump of it, huge it was. So I stripped that right down and back. I've got a couple of extra bits I don't usually get. So this is a big old beetroot that's gone to seed, big thick stem on it and a massive root. So things like that, I will use my chopping block and a billock, because it's too big for my little knife I use normally, and just dice it up a little bit, just into little slivers. Just makes it break down easier. Because that would take probably a good year or more to break down normally. So just dicing it up just helps it to have more sort of areas that all the bacteria and stuff can get in. Ah, just kidding, I'm alright, just a joke. Just dice it up like that. And just to show you temperature, because this time of year obviously there's quite a lot of greens, and the greens and the extra moisture really get the temperature up. It will drop as soon as I take it out. If you can see that, it's holding at about 70 pretty much permanently at the moment. Just slide that in there a second. Yeah, so at that sort of temperature, you can mound this right up with grass and weeds and things like that, and you come back the next day and it's dropped about 6 or 8 inches, and it drops quite quickly each day after that as well, the odd few inches here and there. So I've got there's some old sort of wild onions and things in this border, self-seeded stuff. Just spread it about. And then what I'll do with all this rhubarb, it's because it's quite sort of thick and chunky. What I tend to do is to get my little whippy knife and just sort of hack it up. Just sort of hack up the pieces a little bit. Break up some of the tube, because it's all flowering, big thick tubey bits, just sort of break them up so that all the stuff can get into it to rot it. Just break it down a bit smaller. Like that. I've got a few more bags of that, but also I've got my compost bin from home, so in here I put all the toilet roll inners. They can all go in. There's a bit of fruit, tea bags. We changed our tea bags. I think we use PG tips now because it says they're compostable. Some aren't. Banana skins. I put all my eggshells in there. Don't bother crushing the eggshells up small. Just bung them all in. And yeah, anything. A lot of people say you can put meat and things like that in. I don't put any cooked food in at all. No meat, nothing cooked. Just because I think that could attract rats and things like that. So only uncooked. Any peelings, fruit and veg, things like that. Like I said before, cardboard, toilet roll inners, that all goes in there. So yeah, I'm going to put the rest of this on, and that'll be quite a nice heap then. So just to add to the compost, to increase the volume that I can produce, I have a lot of areas on my holding where I've actually encouraged comfrey to grow. I let it go to seed, and this is all flowering now. It will come back and potentially flower again, but I've got lots of it here anyway, so it really doesn't matter cutting it down when it's in flower. I've just let it get as big as it wants to get. I'm just going to cut some back now and get a few barrel loads over into the compost. I've also got a few nettles mixed in with it, but that's all good too. It's all good nutrients. So I'll just basically use an old slasher, a bit of an old rusty slasher, but it will do the job, and just hack it down. It cuts really easily. And then just because there's nettles in there, you don't want to get your hands stung. So I'll just use a pitchfork and literally just get as much as you can. It doesn't take long to get a wheelbarrow full. So I'll get a bit more on here, and then we'll go and chuck it on the compost. And all I do is I'll just give it a bit of a dice up, either with my little lightweight knife or a pair of shears, something like that. But it's all good stuff. Obviously comfrey is very full of minerals and things because it has such a big tap root. And then any nettles in there, they're full of sort of nitrogen and minerals and things too, so it's all a good addition, and it's free, you know. Nettles and things like this grow everywhere, so it's all good stuff and it's absolutely free. So we're going to put this on the compost now. So that's 4 heaped wheelbarrow loads of comfrey, a few stinger nettles in there, the odd bit of thistle, you know, whatever weeds were growing there, basically some docks and things. Basically I'm just going to go over it now and just sort of chop it a little bit, make it all a bit smaller. It's quite easy to chop the comfrey. It's just like a tubey, quite a fleshy stem, just chops up quite easily. So I'm just going to do this all over. Now I've had a mowing day today, so I've got 800 litre sacks of grass cuttings. So once I've given this a bit of a chop up, I'll put some wood chip on, sprinkle it over, then I'm going to put the grass on mixed with wood chip in layers, and then this bed will be done then. It's getting so big now that stuff's starting to fall off it, but I'll get all that on and I'll show you the size of it when I complete it. So that's this heap finished. It's starting to come out now into the area where I walk in. I'm starting to struggle now to keep everything on it as I'm tipping the bags out. It's pouring out over the side a little bit. So that's as high as I'm going to make it. It's probably about 5 foot high. Obviously I'll come back tomorrow and that will have already sunk probably 6 or 8 inches, and then it continues to sink over the next few days. But it's got enough density to it now that it's not fully sinking right down low, and it's just getting hard to get stuff on it. So at this point I leave it, and then my next job is to turn the second heap there, which is the heat sort of out of that now. It just needs to mature, so I'll this week, or in a few days time anyway, I'll get that over into the third bay. I'll give this a few days just to break down a little bit, and then I'll turn this, so all the fresher stuff will be on the bottom in the middle. That can then stay there for a few months, probably all through the summer when I'm filling this bed again. As soon as this bed is full again, then I'm going to make the decision whether to turn this bed and add it to the final one. I'll have to look at how far they've both got on, or whether I move the third one out. Now I've done my barn extension, I could move it out perhaps onto a tarp over this side and just keep the whole process going. Obviously through the summer I fill these bays fairly quick, but anyway, for now that's this bed done. I hope that's sort of shown you the process that I'm using to make my compost. Obviously I'm fairly new to doing it on this sort of scale anyway. This is only my second year. I'm still finding what works, things I can use, obviously as much free stuff as possible from work and from the holding. But yeah, I mean, give it a go. You can do it on any size, and it's nothing like producing your own compost. It's really rewarding, so give it a go, and I'll do another video when I turn the heaps to sort of show you the consistency and what it looks like as I'm turning it. Just a little update video, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, guys, and we will see you next time. Take it easy.